Well, there you go. Dylan mocking womanhood is just like the Queen of England being beheaded for treason by Henry VIII, obviously. We should be grateful that Dylan and the production's writer are taking this historical figure seriously.
Is that the writer of Six?
Hi.
Is that Toby Marlowe?
Is it Anne Boleyn?
Tran Boleyn.
It's Trampoline!
It's 2026, babe.
It's 26. And it's
Let's bring in documentary filmmaker and political commentator Ami Horowitz. Ami, I trust you've already purchased your tickets?
Oh, no question about it. I mean, look, I can't get enough of Broadway in general. I think it's so awful these days. Totally tracked the bring in Dylan Mulvaney. Oh, God, just the whole thing's a joke. But it's funny. Someone brings the. Remember the time when he was so popular that he actually, like a massive, I don't want to say what beer company it was, but brought him in to represent them? God, things have really changed. For the better, I would say. For the better.
Yep, he almost destroyed Bud Light. I mean, they lost something like $1 billion, it was reported, from the backlash of that, and it's taking them a long time to recover. Now let's talk about more important matters. Earlier today, a grandmother, Felicia Cook, gave a very memorable speech at the White House to mark Black History Month. This is something worth watching.
Thank God for this president. I am filled, my cup runneth over, because he allowed his constituents, his people, to come to my house to interview me, to talk about the murder of my grandson. It seemed like nobody cared. We marched, we rallied, and nobody heard me, Democrats, get mad at me. Until this Republican sent his constituents, his people out there to interview me in my home. Have you ever heard of a thing? Then they invited me twice before Congress to testify for the beautiful bill that's going to change crime in the district. If you kill somebody, okay, you take a life, you do life. Just that simple. If you do a harsh crime, you do harsh time. Just that simple. And then we need National Guard, and which we did years ago. He brought it on. I love him. I don't want to hear nothing you got to say about that racist stuff. And don't be looking at me on the news, hating on me because I'm standing up for somebody that deserves to be standing up for. Get off the man's back. Let him do his job. He's doing the right thing. Back up off of him. And Grandma said it.
Ami, I just love her. I think the White House should hire her as a spokesperson of some type. She is brilliant. She articulated so much in so few words and in such a powerful fashion.
Yeah, and I think she represents more and more the Black community, frankly, right? I think there's maybe even a silent majority that thinks along the lines that she does. Good for her. Her name should be in the lips of all young Black men and women across the country, and not somebody like race grifters like Nicole Hannah-Jones or Ibram X. Kendi. Good for her. And yes, Donald Trump, undoubtedly Donald Trump saved a lot of Black lives in Washington, D.C. when he called it the National Guard. So good on her. And I'm so glad he brought her there for Black History Month. He represents the best of the Black community. I'm here for it.
I think it's been one of the most underreported stories recently, the fact that there has been a dramatic drop in violent crime in the US in the past 12 months, around 20% drop in the murder rate. And like you said, a lot of that is in blue cities, in areas dominated by Black Americans, and they're the ones whose lives are being saved. And yet there seems to be very little reporting of that at all. Now, I want to talk about J.D. Vance. He's shared his thoughts on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's performance in Europe when she floundered on the world stage at the Munich Security Conference. Here's a little reminder of what happened with AOC.
Should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is of course a very long-standing policy of the United States.
Well, the Vice President has shared his thoughts on the Congresswoman's embarrassing performance.
Well, I think it's a person who doesn't know what she actually thinks. And I've seen this way too much in Washington with politicians where they are given lines, and when you ask them to go outside the lines they were given, they completely fall apart because, look, does anybody really believe that AOC has very thoughtful ideas about the global world order or about what the United States should do with our policy in Asia or our policy in Europe? No, this is a person who is mouthing the slogans that somebody else gave her.
It's hard to disagree with JD Vance there. AOC is talked about as the future of the Democrats, but those of us who've observed her closely since she burst onto the scene, well, we weren't surprised by that performance in Munich.
Oh, yeah, we're definitely not surprised. But look, let me push back on the vice president for just a second. Look, is she an idiot? Yes, of course she is. But does she have a global world view that she can articulate generally? She does. Like, look, obviously, she doesn't know anything about Taiwan and China, right? Because she is a geopolitical moron. But she does have this Marxist point of view on how the globe should be, right? An anti-capital, pro-Marxist view. I don't want to discount that because she's a powerful voice in the U.S. Congress and possibly running for president, pushing that viewpoint. A perfect example of that encapsulated, it's our comment on Venezuela. Yeah, she's an idiot. She doesn't know Venezuela is not south of the equator. But she's making a larger point because she's trying to create this strife between the South and the North. That's why she said that, right? Because she wants to create this battle, like geopolitical, economic, social battle royale between the South and the North. That's what I mean by that. Look, she's going to stay in the Democratic Party, right? Is this going to dent her popularity in the Democratic Party? Rita, not one iota, okay? Do not sleep on AOC. I know we're talking about Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris, but don't sleep on her because in every poll we've seen in 2026, she is consistently in the top 5, which is why you saw the Democratic establishment and the Democratic media attacking her in Munich because they are scared to death that she might sweep in and kind of coalesce that leftist vote away from Kamala and Gavin Newsom, and maybe slip in and become the winner of the Democratic primary.
Well, we've got Mamdani in New York. Why not AOC across America? No. Now, Ami, it appears that soon-to-be unemployed Stephen Colbert is at war with CBS again. He made claims about the network, Trump, the FCC, everyone censoring him as a victim. But it turns out that was not the case. CBS released a statement clarifying what happened. And now Colbert has fired back at his own network again. Tell me what's happening here, Ami. This is all about an interview with a Texas Democrat.
Yeah. So what happened is look, there's this rule, the FCC rule called equal time. Basically, it means that when you are covering a political race, you have to give equal time to the other person or people in the race. And yes, look, you can question the wisdom of that in general, and that's fine, but that is the FCC rule that is there. So when he interviewed the Democratic, or was interviewed the Democratic person running for the Democratic nomination for the Senate in the Democratic Party, that he would have to give equal time to Jasmine Crockett. And he didn't want to do that, which I think is really interesting. I think what that shows is a number of things. First of all, he thinks Texas is in play. That Senate race is in play. He does not want probably the stupidest person in all of Congress running for that seat and being the nominee. Because he's got a shot at it. He wants to do everything he can to put his thumb on the scale of that primary. He was also kind of retailing and selling his idea the FCC banned FCC, not CBS, from playing that interview. That is a complete and total lie. He obviously backed down when it became public what was really going on. Keep in mind, this is a guy who has for 5 years straight, every single year, his ratings have been plummeting. And so he's manufacturing this crisis for a number of reasons. And by the way, not to discount, one of the reasons is he's kind of at war with Paramount and CBS himself, because he doesn't like Barry Weiss running CBS News. He doesn't like having David Ellison running Skynet and Paramount, right? And I think this is another way of him trying to create a controversy to keep the problems he has them in the spotlight. And frankly, I think he knows that he's fading to obscurity. I think he's looking for his next gig and probably looking to get fired. So yeah, he's creating this controversy.
Now, sticking with painfully unfunny, tedious, afflicted late-night TV hosts, the New York Post reports Jimmy Kimmel will be headlining a $25,000 per ticket LA fundraiser for House Democrats next month. And that's just the cheap tickets, Ami. Higher price tickets range from $44,000 for the Leaders Circle to $310,000 per ticket for the Jeffries 300 level. Jimmy Kimmel is billed as the event's special guest, and you'll get great value for your money. You're going to have Nancy Pelosi there and Hakeem Jeffries. This just shows how in touch Democrats are with the common man, Ami.
Let me let my check here for $300,000, because what a deal. Yeah. Jimmy Kimmel, another person fading into obscurity. You forced me to do a bunch of late night, number crunching. And like Stephen Colbert, in the last 5 years, he has seen every single year his ratings are plummeting. Why they would choose him to host it does show how out of touch they are, right? Jimmy Kimmel is a draw for a Democratic high-priced ticket is beyond my understanding. Look, they own Hollywood, right? Hollywood and the media, the Democratic Party. They couldn't choose somebody more relevant than Jimmy Kimmel. It just showed, yeah, you're right. They don't know what's happening. They don't have their finger on the pulse of America. And this kind of proves it.
Ami Horowitz, thank you so much for your time.